a little bit about adCenter and some other stuff. My name is Jed Nahum. I am Director of Product Management for the adCenter platform. My team focuses on gathering requirements and capabilities and integrating them into the development team at Microsoft that focuses on the adCenter platform. With me today is my good friend, David Jakubowski, who will be showing you some what I consider incredibly cool stuff. I like advertising, so we'll show a little bit of that to you. And then towards the end of the time we have, we will take your questions, and I'm looking forward to that, as I'm sure David is. We're probably going to run a little bit short today, but why don't I just get going now and tell you a little bit about what's going to be going on. So some of you may not be exactly familiar with adCenter. adCenter is our one-stop shop for advertising at Microsoft. You may have heard that we've launched in Singapore and France over the past summer, and we initiated a pilot in the US in mid-October that's been running with a limited number of advertisers. It is a search marketing platform that enables you to place advertisements on Microsoft's MSN and Windows Live properties in conjunction with search engine result pages, so your listings will appear there. But as it says up here on the screen, we consider that just the first step, and I'll show you a little bit more of where we imagine we can go in the future. We see adCenter as the platform that will enable you to place advertisements across a broad range of opportunities. So search is just the first step, as we mentioned before. We aim to capitalize on the technology we've developed, which I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the pillars of that technology during the course of the talk. But we aim to be able to enable you as an advertiser across all sorts of properties such as PCs, TV, devices like mobile, online, and eventually we hope to consider third-party sites as well. We want to gather an unprecedented global audience, as it says on the slide, and audience intelligence is what I'm going to spend the majority of the time that I'm talking today on. Because we think we've introduced something that's really rather revolutionary and disruptive. And the feedback we've been receiving from our advertisers would tend to bear that out. So we're very excited about the platform. We have said that we're going to be launching in the US in the first half of this year. And we are sticking with that commitment, of course. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about it now. We talk about audience intelligence as the way that advertisers can really drive qualified leads, really drive extraordinary return on investment. And we've been seeing that in the pilot so far. The first tenet of our philosophy about adCenter is that we want you to use our product to learn about your customers. Learn about the people who are actually searching for the products you're selling, who are actually searching on your brand name, and actually searching in the categories that you find interesting. We'll show you a little bit more in a moment. The next pillar would be connect. So audience intelligence in the learn phase gives you detailed demographic and other information about your customers that you just can't get elsewhere. Connect via rich targeting refers to the fact that we have the ability to then take those attributes and allow you to target on them. This is where the ROI thing starts to happen. You are able to take advantage of the fact that if you know your product sells well with a specific segment, demographic and age, we'll enable you to target that segment incrementally, get your results in front of people, get your content in front of people when it really counts. Third stage we like to talk about is refine. Refine refers to the fact that you bring it all together. You get rich reporting on those demographic attributes, on those leads that you generate with the targeting and the audience intelligence, and you get to bring it all home start the cycle over again, and continually refine your ability to be competitive, to drive your return, and to connect with the people that really matter to you as an advertiser. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about this learn thing today because it does well on slides. This is a picture of our adCenter console. And many of you, I'm sure, place advertisements on other search engines. And you probably get traffic trends. But we have the ability to show you the age and gender, as I mentioned, of those people searching for you. We have the ability also, as do our competitors, but for some reason they aren't yet, to show you where the preponderance of people searching for those things are coming from. And we show it to you in a neat little bundle of charts that really brings it home for you and is easy to access and helps you to be efficient and quick. We're also able to give you wealth information and lifestyle demographics based on the Experian lifestyle segment schemes. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example here, but maybe I should start. It's hard to see you, but I'm going to ask, how many of you are men in this room? Okay, and how many of you are women? Okay, quite a bit fewer. I would say it's about 10 to 1. You may or may not feel that's a non-counterintuitive result. I want to tell you about a result that one of our advertisers in the pilot had that was counterintuitive and that they were able to learn from and help to further target their campaigns. And by the way, they took this information and started using it on our competitors' sites. And that's one of the things we actually love to hear. We love to hear that the information we're giving you enables you to be a better marketer online, offline, and with our competitors. So this is the bleach case study. We have a consumer product goods company, you can probably guess who they are, who wants to sell bleach. And they had an image of their target segment. And it was, you know, this is a little bit of a joke here in terms of the image, but it was a woman in the ages of 28 to 45 years of age. And they wanted these people to come from the United States. When people actually search on the keyword bleach, these are the results our customer found. Now, it's hard to see the charts from up there, but I'll describe them for you. The light green, I guess it's an olive color. The olive-colored bars are males, and the blue-colored bars are females. So if the keyword bleach, turns out that a lot more men are searching for this keyword than women. And hey, they're an awful lot younger than our pilot participant expected. Another weird thing, a bunch of them, like 11%, were searching on the US site for bleach from the location of Singapore. People in Singapore were not people that this particular company could sell to. What's it all about? It turns out that there's a Japanese anime cartoon called Bleach, and it is very popular with young men. So what was actually happening is they had an image of their customers that was these women searching for bleach. Yeah, maybe they drive a station wagon. They wear comfortable, sensible jeans. And their idea of a fun night, according to our advertisers, going to bed early and taking care of the kids, that sort of thing. In reality, what they were getting were a bunch of guys from Singapore thinking about a cartoon, driving hopped-up Scions, wearing jeans with that are maybe down around their ankles. And their idea of a good evening would be maybe a rave. So how could they take advantage of this information? Well, again, as I said, across all of the engines, there are techniques you can do to actually skew it back to the demographic segment that you're looking for, even without the targeting that we have. So what you can do is exclude the keyword phrases anime and manga, which are highly correlated with this cartoon that we've been talking about. Exclude Singapore and other geographic locations that don't correspond to your audience. And you can also use your creative more intelligently to target those customers. So instead of having a URL that says bleach.com, which, if I were looking for the anime cartoon, I might just type in bleach and see what happens. You could, if you were Clorox, for example, you could change it to Clorox and bleach. And the creative could say, instead of everything about bleach detergent. So you'll be avoiding the clicks that don't sell any product for you. Now, on adCenter, for targeting, you can engage in a bidding strategy that, as I said, is not available on our competitors, which is that you can lower your bid for the keyword, but raise your bid for the keywords that, actually, this is something you can do on all engines, I'm sorry, raise your bid for the keywords that match your demographic. But on adCenter, what we actually have the ability to do is bid a low base bid, and for women, you can raise it. In this case, you see the marketer is raising the bid for women by 70% over the base. And in the age groups that they're interested in, which skew higher, they can increase the bid, it says 60%, but I believe we mean 50%. So this, again, is what I was talking about that gets your advertisements out in front of the audience that you're really excited by and going to sell to with adCenter. And it drives higher returns for you. Your probability, the value of a click from somebody in this segment to you has a much higher, that click has a much higher probability of converting, has a much higher probability of communicating the brand message that you want to communicate to the right people when you can take advantage of these features. Connect through targeting. I talked a little bit about this in the previous slide, but I want to talk a little bit more. We talked about the demographic portion. I referred to the geographic portion. You can limit your advertisements to specific locations, specific cities, in this case within the US. But you can also decide that, okay, I tend to convert more in Albuquerque, so it's worth more to me, but I don't want to limit the advertisement from showing elsewhere. Another interesting thing, day of the week and time of day targeting. It's often the case that people will tend to convert and tend to investigate your product at specific times of the day and day of the week, and we enable you to bid on that. I'll give you a sort of a quick example of that. We've had online dating services in the pilot. Turns out that males tend to convert around lunchtime on Friday, and we posit that it's that they're thinking about Saturday. So it turns out that these online dating services love this feature. There's a bunch of people who love this feature because the buying patterns over time are quite different for different products and different segments. So I talked a little bit about Refine Your Campaign. It's difficult to show reporting in a big screen in front of a few hundred people. But we give you the ability to learn about all of that stuff we talked about in the prior slides in some rather rich reporting that gives you the information on your performance along those new dimensions of male, female, age, etc. I want to tell you a little bit, this is actually my last slide, I want to tell you a little bit about our API. We have launched with an API for advertisers at this point. That enables you to create perhaps your own custom user interface if you're working with other clients and want to control that. You can programmatically manage large campaigns. You can bulk upload. You can do all the targeting that I've talked about through that and get some great keyword research done, position and price estimation as well. So you don't have to go through our interface. We're happy to have you use your own, happy to have you connect to us in that way. Now this API has actually been launched as a premium segment feature, and we are considering at this time enabling it for everybody. But towards the end, towards that end, I should say, after this session, if you want to come up and talk to me, give me your business card. I have API tokens that can be used across any segment of our customers. And I have about 10 of them, so they are fairly limited. But if you have an interest in utilizing the API, playing around in our sandbox, we'd love to have you there, and we appreciate the feedback that you might give us, that our customers have been giving us. And I think this is where I end. I'd like to introduce, thank you for listening to me. I'd like to introduce again my friend David Jakubowski. He's GM in charge of search strategy and adCenter go-to-market.
Thanks, Jed. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. When we were sort of talking about what we were going to do for this session, obviously with the topic being adCenter, Jed and I sort of sat down and kicked around some ideas about how we wanted to talk about it. And very often, you know, we're in your shoes, sitting out in the audience listening to somebody, and we find that they don't do anything that's fun or visionary that talks about really where this stuff is going. So Jed and I sort of divided it up, and Jed was very nice and gave me some of the fun stuff to go talk about. We have an initiative that is the adCenter Ad Labs. This is basically a joint venture between MSN and MSR, Microsoft Research. Most of that lab sits in China. Some of it does sit in Seattle. We currently have 50 researchers today looking at ad platforms of the future. So why is this significant and why is this important? Well, there's been a lot of questions about advertising and Microsoft and how invested we are in it. This is a huge statement by Microsoft saying that advertising is becoming a software problem. It's becoming an area that needs to be addressed with software, and an area that our software development can help empower advertisers. And we've taken a group of some of the brightest PhDs out of Microsoft Research and asked them to focus specifically on advertising platforms of the future. What it's going to be, how it's going to be, features, functionality, and what advertisers are going to need. We'll have a public website available for everybody to look at and to participate in and to see a lot more about what I'm going to talk about in April. So what is the Ad Lab? So the Ad Lab, like I mentioned, is set up to research and incubate new ad platforms, things that aren't possible today or things that the marketplace isn't quite ready for, but we can see it on the horizon. It's to take the platforms of today, in particular, a lot of the focus today is on search, to take the platforms of search of today and say, what does the advertiser really want? What are they really interested in? So they're completely focused on innovation, prototyping, and making this so that they're large scale and so that they are scalable. Sorry, excuse me. So what we're doing is we're incubating 40 different programs right now. Everything from search funnels to keyword research pieces to the integration of IPTV, advertising in your PC. And I'm going to show you some demos, and we're going to talk a little bit about those today. So let me jump into some demos. Thank you. So the first one that I have to show you is the search funnel. Classic example of where software and technology can really empower advertisers. If you've ever set up a search campaign, you know that just figuring out your first base of keywords can often be a challenge. But understanding how things happen in a funnel and how searchers are going to behave, where they are coming through, and where they are in the classic purchase funnel can be complicated. So if I come in and I type in new car, classic funnel example, I have to hit go. What it will give me is where, it'll give me the query, and then what are the queries that come directly after that most often, so that I can start to understand my behavior. And if I want to understand what are they doing before this, I just invert the query on the funnel, right? So that I see that people type in car, Kelly Blue Book, Honda before they get down into new car. And what you'll see over time, and I can increase or decrease this to go as wide or as broad as I want to. And what you'll see is is patterns emerging over time in your various verticals. So you as a marketer can come in and begin to study and understand what the behavior is, so that as people are typing in more general queries and you're getting clicks off of those, where are they in the life cycle down to the queries that you know drive most of your conversions. And that will help you do two things. First, buy and bid smarter, and then understand the behavior patterns. And you'll actually find words that may be in the behavior pattern that you're not currently buying today that you want to include to draw them into your purchase funnel. So a very powerful tool. Next one that I want to highlight is the seasonality forecast. Forecasting is a major problem today in search. None of the platforms, frankly, are addressing it adequately, or at least that's what our advertisers are telling us. So we've sort of taken a lot of time and began to map out the data so that you can begin to use it in a way that is both predictive and insightful for your ad campaigns. So I was playing around with this, and a suggestion actually from a coworker, and it was a topic that I knew nothing about. And I recently got engaged, so my fiance is out, doing all the wedding plans, and frankly, I'm doing very little, and I'm very happy about it. She has been, planning all different kinds of stuff, and one of the big things that she's been doing is looking for a dress. So I started playing around with wedding dresses and trying to understand it. And like most people, we're getting married at the end of the summer. And when I went out and we talked to a few advertisers, that seems to be the big wedding season. So when I come into the tool, I put in the term wedding gowns. What I will see is a traffic pattern that will emerge that will highlight the winter months. So most of the terms, and this is repeated, and this is a 3-year cycle, most of these are repeated over and over in the winter. So what we're finding is that if you sell wedding gowns, you need to really concentrate your efforts in this season. This is when the research is happening, despite the fact that the buying cycle tends to happen at the end of it. Most of the advertisers we talked to knew that when the buying cycle was, but they didn't realize that the research started so early. So it's things like this that we could play with and go on, and that as an advertiser, you're now empowered with tools to go in and look and learn more about your campaigns. The other interesting thing that they built into here is some data that shows you where the probabilities are going to be for you. So if you notice, the red line is actual. That is the actual data that happened in the given years, so that you have that. There is a blue line that is what we're looking at, that's saying, statistically, to be conservative, this is where the pattern is going to play out. And this is how it's going to play out after the coming months. And then we have a confidence range factor, so that the peaks and the lows are within these various ranges. So when you're doing your planning, you can say, geez, I know I want to drive it towards my CPI. How much budget do I have to allocate to this? So on the conservative side, I know I'm going to spend this much. And on a high-end side, I may want to have a budget allocated with my management that says I can spend sort of up in this range, even though I'm projecting that I'm going to be sort of in the middle. These are tools particularly for advertisers who are ROI focused that make their life easier. It's empowering them to do more efficiently. And then lastly, I have a demo that is sort of a little bit of the future. It is the convergence of the IPTV. It is a convergence of the PC and of advertiser buying. So today we buy keywords on trench coats, wedding gowns, new car, BMW, whatever it is that you're trying to sell, you're buying those keywords. In the future, as IPTV becomes more pervasive, there's no reason you can't integrate these into your television experience. So I had a very cool demo with Sarah Jessica Parker and her great Manolos and some cute little outfits. And then I ran into some lawyers who said, not so cool on the trademark side. So bear with me and use your imagination here. This is a video clip from it's actually from a soap opera, of a gentleman running up the stairs, chasing his love interest, and he is got a very cool outfit on. So use your imagination. That was Sarah Jessica Parker. Be a little bit more interesting. So as you're watching this TV show, this gentleman could be running up and you're saying, ooh, I'm very interested in this trench coat. I highlight it, tells me what it is, and if I want to, I click on it. It will pause my television. Keep in mind, this is IPTV, where if I pause it, when I come back to it, just like your TiVo works, I'll be able to just keep watching it without missing a beat. And now I found where I can buy that coat. This is the future of advertising. These are the programs that adCenter will support in the future. These are the programs that we're incubating today. These are 3 of 40 that we have ongoing right this minute, with many more to come. So I thought I would share those with you and bring a little bit of fun and future to the group. And happy to answer any questions. Questions? Shoot, sorry, it's hard to see.
Okay, there are microphones in the aisle. I know you look like you might be in the middle, or actually I can't see,
here.
But it's very clear to me that I can't hear a word you're saying, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could give a little bit more detail of how that, for let's say a television broadcaster, how that product would be administrated. How a little bit more detail of like how that works. I mean, it's kind of a cool feature.
Yep.
But I'm just kind of not quite sure how it what the details are of it, how it kind of works.
Okay, that's a big question, and we had a group of PhDs who figured out how to do it. So basically, what they did is based on the various products in the show, you tag them almost like you do sort of with metadata. So that as I'm surfing, as I'm watching my show, and I say, this is something I'm interested in, that's the coat, and yes, that's what I'm interested in. Now, I may say, geez, who's that actor? There may be variations that you can play on this. Who's the actor? What else has he been in? What kind of television shows? And there's a variety of different things, and it'll be up to the programmers of the content to decide what things they want to highlight going forward. So what we just chose here was just a common one, watching TV and you say, hey, that's interesting clothing. But you could essentially tag anything in the video.
Okay, that answered my question.
Okay.
Before we take the next question, I just wanted to mention we skipped ahead, and I wanted to get up on the board. Please take note, if you want to get into the pilot, there's a URL here that you can use, and there's a promo code that you can use to take advantage. I think that gets rid of the entrance fee. Anybody interested in the API, natalam@microsoft.com, or come up and talk to me at the end. Give me your business card.
Sorry, there's a question down. Shoot.
I think there's a gentleman in front of the microphone.
Sorry,
There's
it's really
a
hard to see.
hazy-looking gentleman in front of me.
So you're showing me a lot of data or mining data from like AdWords and so on. Do you do anything with video impressions? Any of the information that you can learn from watching someone actually watch video that's online?
We showed you nothing from AdWords, just to be clear. But I think the question effectively goes to, are you going to be able to take advantage of this type of information in the rest of the platform as we move into the other advertising media that I mentioned in the beginning of the talk? Is that a fair representation? Yeah. And the answer is an absolute yes. We are committed to giving advertisers and publishers the targeting and audience intelligence information they need to generate ROI for all parties involved. So yes, we will.
Sorry.
Okay.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Back in the beginning, again, on all these different platforms and stuff, you mentioned Windows and Office. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
So, what's that?
I didn't hear the question.
The question is, in the beginning, when I had the pretty slide with the spiral of all the sorts of properties we have and how they might be monetized through adCenter, could we talk a little bit more about Windows and Office?
Okay.
And I think the answer is that at this moment, we don't have plans We have nothing on the roadmap to take advantage of ad-funded software, but in the event that we should, it's going to happen through adCenter. I think that's the answer.
And just to take it a little bit more, we've already taken it some steps further with some public programs with Xbox, as well as Microsoft.com. So taking advantage of the opportunities there. So if you're interested in that rather rich audience that concentrates and goes and does a lot of maneuvering around and research on Microsoft.com, there are now advertising programs that you can get into that. We just started to pilot some of those, as well as Xbox. If you're interested in that captive audience, there are sponsorship programs that you can now get into. So we are starting to make the first forays outside of what you call traditional search,
Sure.
into other avenues that are all integrated.
Gentleman over here.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you showed earlier on the demographic stuff. Where do you expect that demographic information to be sourced from? Because obviously vast amounts of people on the internet are anonymous browsers.
Okay, so the place we get that information from is our registration data on our network, primarily in the form of the passport. Information that's freely given by our customers. And the other thing I want to say about this is people often ask me about whether there's any personally identifiable information going to advertisers. And there absolutely is not. You are not able to get anything more than a segment, i.e. this person is 25 to 50, and a gender, as well as you can obviously get their city that they come from. So that's not enough to really drill into the identity of a person.
I have a colleague of mine that signed up for the beta of the adCenter, and two questions that he had. He wasn't able to be here, but one was the ability when you upload your keywords, there was a 2.5-day delay in approval, and then two was the compatibility with Firefox. So just any comments you guys have on that would be great.
So both of those things are known, and I appreciate your bringing them up because it gives me more ammunition to get those things hammered through as quickly as possible. With respect to Firefox, I might point out that we're not supporting IE7 yet either, so we definitely have some work to do in terms of getting browser support up there, and we've been focusing instead on getting the product launched as quickly as possible because that's what the majority of our advertisers are saying is get it out there. The second part of your question, I'm sorry, I've spaced on it.
It was an editorial delay issue.
Yeah.
We did have, particularly at the beginning of the pilot, we had a number of problems with the editorial uploads and the backlogs there. Most of those have been fixed, and we are operating today at well under actually our SLA. A few things to note. Those campaigns will now come up, and the vast majority of them actually go live right away as they go through the automated editorial process. It's only the things that get caught that need manual review that will take another day or two, but it does not pull your whole campaign down, just those individual listings. So a lot of that has been addressed.
Right. The other thing was his ad had a problem with it, or his upload had a problem, but it didn't specify what the problem was.
So that's right. And in the recent, I don't know how recent this information is, but we did a launch on the 18th of February of a new version of the product called adCenter 3.0, where we tried to get a little bit more of that information in there. The other place where, admittedly, we've been having some problems is in that appeals process. And that's, so in other words, if you disagree with our assessment that this is not relevant to the keyword, for example, that process is taking a lot longer than we would like it to, and we're always in the process of trying to improve that.
So I have two questions. The first, if I'm a small third-party publisher, does adCenter help me monetize my content for small third parties, like I'm a blogger? And the second question is, if I'm a small local business like a dry cleaner where my ad spend is less than $500 a month, does this work for me?
So I think there's, let me take them one at a time. Your first question about the publishers really getting at the heart of is, are we going to do contextual? Is that the question?
Are we going to do AdSense, I think?
Are we going to do contextual? Is that a fair assessment? Right. So, I mean, we've been very public about saying that, that's an impressive business and it's something we're very interested in. We've been doing a lot of research around it, but right now we haven't made any public statements about what we're going to do. I'm a little bit, sorry, giving you, the lawyer answer, but I'm a little bit tied down in what we can say. What I can tell you is we're very interested in it. We're doing a lot of research around it, but we haven't made any public plans to do anything with
Also, love to get your card at the end of the session.
Yeah. So the second part of the question is, if you are a small advertiser.
Yeah, I'm the local dry cleaner, and
Yep.
I want to do some local advertising, and
Sure.
my ad budget is $500 a month,
Yep.
and I got 15 minutes a week to deal with this stuff.
Yep. So, so the minimum is $5 to get into the program. So I think that'll meet most of your small business budget needs. Once they set the campaign up in the system, it'll take them about, depending on how sophisticated they are, anywhere from sort of 10 minutes to half an hour and how far they want to go into it. And the product can be set up to just be ongoing, and they can come in and just look at the dashboard of reports to see how they're doing, make very quick modifications, and spend very little time with it once it's up and running. Our suggestion is that you invest a little bit more time out of the gate so that you have to do less work down the road. And the idea is that, in fact, in the 3.0, we took the sign-up process from about 8 steps down to about 4. And we've integrated in the buying process all those research tools that Jed showed you, so that as you're choosing your keywords, you can click on any of them and get all the data very, very quickly, so that it is very simple and easy to manage. We actually did quite a bit of focus group work after the first release came out, and we heard a lot of people saying, I want it to be simpler, simpler, simpler. So the last 3.0 release concentrated on very much making it easier, and the vision is that you will be able to get it live in 5 minutes. That's sort of an internal goal that we have, is to be able to get it live in 5. And then ongoing monitoring is you can actually set up your reports so that every month you come back, just run the same report, and you know the exact data that you're looking at over and over again.
We actually have a friend of ours from work does the Live in 5 demo and is actually able to get a campaign started in 5 minutes and talk about how great it is constantly during the demo. So you can do it. We're pretty proud of that. We've also, in that release, the console now has all the information that advertisers have been asking for in one place to help them monitor that performance. And so we did that with the goal of making it a much lower overhead process for you as a small business.
Hi there. You had a geographical representation. There was at city level. Are you looking to do it any more detailed than that? Because our $500 advertiser probably is a lot more local than a huge city.
By the way, it might be great if someone were to adjust the mic up a little bit, because a lot of people are doing this or being very quiet. So I think the question is, are you going to be able to go below the city level for greater granularity on targeting? That is definitely something we're considering and trying to achieve and trying to get onto the roadmap as soon as possible, because we have heard people such as yourself say that I'd like to do a little bit tighter geographic targeting.
Being a short arse, I don't know.
I think I'll hear you.
Do you have any plans for multi-stage campaigns where you're essentially establishing a dialogue with the customer over a period of interactions rather than just simply the kind of baseball bat approach of like, here's an ad, click it or not?
So the answer to the question is yes. And we're actually incubating a couple of programs. What I'm struggling with is how much I can say.
You can, but you may not.
Yeah. So yes, we're looking at a number of things, a lot of which is coming out of Ad Lab, some of which is coming just out of our dev team and the research that they've done, and being able to take it to the next steps, to be able to say, here are avenues and here are searchers that seem to be a spoke for me into my distribution. Here are people at various phases of buying patterns as opposed to just keywords there. So taking all these things to the next levels. So we're thinking about those things very broadly. We haven't come out and said, this is what the product is going to be, but we're doing a lot of research in those areas, and I think you'll see us continue to push the envelope there. Shoot.
So you said that search was the beginning, and I spend a lot of money every month making sure that when you search on terms that I'm interested in, I'm right in the triangle and number one organically or through PPC. What I'm trying to understand is how is this going to improve my ROI? I mean, I'm already ranked number one or number two where I want to be. I can see where the quality of the information, especially with respect to the demographics, refining the demographics would be good. But I mean, who are you really targeting with this? Is it guys like me who are spending $30,000, $40,000 a month on, SEO or SEM, or is it the smaller guy who's spending $500 in the dry cleaner?
So I think that the goal is to bring a product to market that has the power to do what a more sophisticated advertiser like yourself is going to understand. So very few people even understand what the golden triangle is. So just the statement that you made shows that you've spent a lot more time and understand more than the vast majority of advertisers would do. So somebody like yourselves, we've given very rich data behind it, so that you may be I'm not sure what products you sell, but in the bleach example, if you were selling bleach, they were doing something similar, and they understood that there was a golden triangle and they wanted to be in there. But what they didn't really understand is why it wasn't translating to the conversions that they were expecting, or they didn't understand how to get it to the next level of conversions. And when you dig down into the behavior of the researcher, they were able to learn some pretty fundamental and basic things that they could apply to adCenter as well as the other engines. And we've tried to combine that with those very deep tools to allow somebody who's sophisticated to really take it as far as you want. If you want to really take it down, my hunch is, based on what you've told me, you have a pretty good idea of who your converters are, what words convert for you well, how to do your bidding for those. You can now begin to sub-segment those. So finance converts very well early in the week, early in the morning as a category, for example, so that you may do bid boosting early on in those times, so that you're guaranteed, that to be in that window. And when you're talking about a $30,000 budget, there are people who have $1 million budgets, and you're always making a trade-off. The same thing with the dry cleaner, who's a $500. They have to make trade-offs so that you can refine it as far as you want, or take segments out, increase your ROI that may allow you to actually spend more elsewhere because you're driving efficiency. So that every dollar you're spending, you're giving more tools to extract out. And we've integrated it all in a 4-step system so that the small advertiser who, to the gentleman with the dry cleaner, says, look, I want to do some very basic things. I want to be able to get through it. I want to be able to learn about my audience very quickly. They can do that. And we have a whole separate tab of research that is a little bit more robust for a more sophisticated person who's going to spend the time and the tools to pull out their different segments. So you may know something about one keyword. You can likely split that keyword into different groups, different creatives, different bidding strategies, different times of the day of the week, regionals, male, female, age. There's all those independent variables that will give the most sophisticated advertiser more control over their ROI.
To add a little bit to that, the beginning of your question made me think of something else, which is that you mentioned that I said search is just the beginning. And I guess what I would like to say, it's been drawn out by a couple of other questions, is that a lot of this great functionality that you're seeing in our search product, you're going to start to see in, for example, our display product. And you may start to see the ability, you probably will start to see the ability to generate return on investment in our other vehicles. It's very similar. So, what's in it for you, I think, would be, we hear a lot from our advertisers that search is great. Give me more of it. I love it. They want more of that kind of a lead. And I believe you're going to start to see the leads that you get from other online vehicles approaching that of search in terms of its richness and ability to convert.
Do
you have any plans to launch and trial in the UK and Europe at all?
Yes. adCenter is a global platform. We will be going out internationally. We've been pretty public with our desire to be aggressive in those areas. We have not given any time frames, and we're sort of, it's funny you mentioned it this morning, I was dealing with shuffling around of some schedules and resources so that we can begin to plan for which markets we're going to go to when. I think that the best guidance I could give you is if you look at the bigger search marketplaces, we'll be there shortly.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? So I just want to reiterate, there's a lot of this information is on our blogs. We have resources set up to take these kind of questions. If there's something we didn't get to that you want to talk about a little bit more, it's a great forum to do that. You're welcome to register for the U.S. pilot. We will be from time to time opening it up and doing blasts of registration so that I think if you went and registered, you'd be happy with the turnaround. I'm sorry? Sure. Yeah. If you're interested in the API, feel free to blog that Jed's your guy. I'm not sure.
No, Natala M.
Oh, Natala M. Sorry. That Natala M is your source on that, and we have a bunch of tokens specifically for this audience. If you want to talk to Jed, he'll get those people on. And then I would encourage everybody to take the time and to play around with some of the demos that are available, and Jed and I will be available if anybody has any questions that they didn't feel like getting up and walking to the microphone for.
Thank you for joining us today. It's great to see you all.